The wedding is off unless you put the penthouse, the Tesla, and your entire liquidity portfolio in my name." Spencer said it casually, too casually. He was sitting across from me at the kitchen island, my kitchen island, granite, waterfall edge, paid for in 2018, dunking a piece of spicy tuna roll into a shallow dish of soy sauce. He didn't even look up. He was focused on the suspension of the soy sauce, the way the rice absorbed the sodium, treating the destruction of my financial future with the same level of attention as a Tuesday night takeout order. I blinked. The air in the room seemed to vanish, replaced by a high-pitched, static whine in my ears. "I'm sorry?" "The assets, Lauren," he said, finally looking at me. He had that half-smile on his face, the one I used to think was charmingly boyish, but now just looked like he was watching a toddler try to solve a calculus problem. "We're 90 days out from the wedding. If we're going to be true partners, we need to level the playing field. I can't be the spouse living in your house. It creates a power imbalance. I need equity, legal equity, or I can't walk down that aisle." I stared at him. The chopstick in his hand was pointing at me, a wooden accusation. We were 3 months away from October 14th. The save the dates had been sent. The venue, a restored industrial loft in downtown Chicago, was booked. I had already paid $42,000 in non-refundable deposits. The florist, a woman named Chloe, who charged for hydrangeas like they were endangered species, had my credit card on file. "You're holding the wedding hostage?" I asked, my voice sounding strange, thin, like it was coming from the hallway. "You're turning our marriage into a negotiation?" "See, this is the problem," Spencer sighed, dropping the sushi into his mouth and chewing thoughtfully. "You always go straight to negotiation. You're thinking like a lawyer, Lauren." "I'm talking about trust, about spiritual alignment. My dad and I were talking, and he pointed out that if you really trusted me, if you really viewed me as the head of this household, you wouldn't feel the need to hoard everything under your maiden name. It's insulting, honestly." I looked around the room. I bought this condo when I was 28. I scraped together the down payment by working 80-hour weeks as a junior associate, reviewing intellectual property contracts until my eyes bled, eating vending machine crackers for dinner so I could afford the mortgage. The stool he was sitting on? I bought that. The plate he was eating off of? Mine. The soy sauce? I bought that too. "You want me to deed you half the property value," I said, trying to keep my hands from shaking under the table, "and give you access to my brokerage accounts as a condition of marriage." "As a condition of partnership," he corrected, reaching for a napkin. He wiped the corner of his mouth, a slow, deliberate motion. "Look, take a few days. Think about it. But don't take too long. We have the final tasting with the caterer on Friday, and I'd hate to go there if we aren't aligned." He hopped off the stool, my stool, and walked toward the living room. "I'm going to hop on COD with Mason. Let me know when you've processed your feelings." I sat there for 20 minutes, staring at the ring of soy sauce left on the counter. It was slowly drying into a sticky brown stain. I didn't wipe it up. I just stared at it, feeling the cold, hard realization that the man I loved wasn't asking for a prenup to protect us both. He was asking for a robbery to fund himself. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. To understand why my blood turned to absolute ice in that kitchen, you have to understand that for me, money isn't just currency, it's oxygen. And I learned to breathe the hard way. I didn't grow up with granite countertops or spicy tuna rolls. I grew up in a chaotic rental in joyless suburbia, where the electricity was a sometimes utility. My father was a man of big dreams and bad math. He was a gambler, but not the glamorous Vegas kind. He was the scratch-off ticket, backroom poker, I've got a system kind. I was 12 years old when I came home from school to find our furniture on the front lawn, not boxed up, just there. The sofa sitting on the dead grass, my bed frame dismantled and leaning against the mailbox, My father had bet the rent money on a sure-thing horse at Arlington Park, and the horse, unsurprisingly, hadn't won. I remember standing there, clutching my JanSport backpack, watching neighbors slow down as they drove by. The shame wasn't hot. It was cold. It was a shivering, deep-bone freeze that told me, no one is coming to save you. If you don't build a fortress, the world will take your bed. So I built the fortress. I became a machine. I studied while other kids partied. I got a full ride to Northwestern, then law school. I chose intellectual property law not because I had a passion for copyright, but because the billable hours were reliable and the bonuses were fat. By 30, I had the fortress, the penthouse, purchased at a foreclosure auction for a steal, renovated with my own hands on weekends, no mortgage, the portfolio, a diversified mix of index funds and municipal bonds that I fed like a hungry pet, 40% of every paycheck religiously. The cash reserve, an emergency fund that could float me for 2 years if the world ended. I have habits that drive people crazy. I check my 3 banking apps every morning before I pee. I check them again at lunch. I check them before bed. I know my net worth down to the cent at any given hour. It's not greed. It's a nervous tick. It's checking the locks on the fortress gate to make sure the furniture isn't on the lawn. Spencer knew this. He knew about the eviction. He knew that when I looked at a bank balance, I wasn't seeing numbers. I was seeing the distance between me and that dead grass. And he had just asked me to lower the drawbridge and let the enemy in. I walked into my home office, the one room Spencer wasn't allowed to clutter with his vision boards, and sat in my Aeron chair. I opened my laptop. I pulled up the spreadsheet. Assets, premarital. I looked at the total. It was a number that represented every vacation I didn't take, every designer bag I didn't buy, every Saturday night I spent redlining contracts while my friends were taking body shots at meaningless bars. He wants half, I whispered to the empty room. My father used to say, Lauren, you gotta share your luck. He said that right before he borrowed $50 from my babysitting money and never paid it back. Spencer sounded exactly like him. I met Spencer Barrett 18 months ago at a rooftop mixer for young professionals in tech. I was there to recruit potential patent clients. He was there because he was a consultant. At the time, consultant sounded impressive. He was handsome in a disheveled, creative way. Messy hair, vintage blazer, eyes that crinkled when he laughed. He told me he helped startups find their narrative. He listened to me complain about a difficult deposition for 2 hours and made me feel like I was the most interesting person in Chicago. You're a warrior, he had said, touching my hand over a craft cocktail I paid for. You slay dragons all day. You need someone to make sure you remember to take off the armor. It was intoxicating. I was so tired of being the strong one. I wanted to be soft. I wanted to be taken care of, even if just emotionally. But looking back, the red flags were there. They were just painted to look like quirks. It started small. Oh man, I forgot my wallet in my gym bag. On our 3rd date, I covered the $200 dinner. He promised to Venmo me. He never did. Then it was the investments. 6 months in, he told me he needed a new MacBook Pro because his old one couldn't handle the rendering software for a project he was pitching. I bought it for him as a birthday gift, $3,000. He used it mostly to watch Twitch streams and play Call of Duty. Then came the comments. You're so corporate, Lauren. It's a little soulless, isn't it? Must be nice to have a steady paycheck. Some of us are trying to build something real, not just push paper. Why do you need a Tesla? A Honda gets you from A to B. It's just status signaling. My best friend Riley, a forensic accountant who sees human relationships as balance sheets, hated him from day one. He's a vampire, Lo, she told me over brunch 3 months ago. He doesn't have clients. He has meetings. There's a difference. Check his LinkedIn. It's a graveyard of founder titles for companies that don't exist. He's just in a transition phase, I defended him. He's visionary. He's not a grinder like us. He's grinding something, Riley muttered into her mimosa. Your debit card. I ignored her. I was 32, successful and lonely. I wanted the fairy tale. I wanted the wedding. I wanted someone to come home to. So when he moved in 10 months ago, I justified the fact that he only paid $500 a month toward utilities and groceries. I owned the place, right? Why should he pay rent? It felt petty to ask. But the shift was immediate. My minimalist sanctuary became cluttered with his half-finished projects, electronic parts on the dining table, stacks of the 4-Hour Work Week and crypto magazines on the floor. He started inviting his friend Mason over for strategy sessions that involved drinking my expensive scotch and leaving wet rings on the coffee table. And now, the ultimatum. I sat in my office replaying the last year, the way he always steered conversations toward my net worth, the way he asked specifically about the vesting schedule of my firm's partnership shares. He's not a visionary, I said out loud, the words tasting like ash. He's a squatter. The next morning, Tuesday, I was a ghost. I got up before Spencer, made coffee, and left for the firm without waking him. I needed space. I needed to think. But my brain wasn't working on logic. It was working on insecurity. Why now, I thought, staring at a lease agreement I couldn't focus on? Why the ultimatum 3 months before the wedding? My anxiety brain supplied an answer. He has someone else. It made 6 sense. If he was ready to blow up the wedding over assets, maybe he was looking for an exit strategy. Maybe he wanted to push me so hard I'd break up with him, so he wouldn't have to be the bad guy. Or maybe he wanted the assets so he could finance a life with someone who wasn't soulless and corporate. I spiraled. I spent the morning stalking his Instagram likes. Nothing suspicious, just tech accounts and models. Then, around 2:00 p.m., I got a notification on my iPad. Spencer and I shared an iCloud family plan, my idea to save him $2.99 a month on storage. He usually kept his devices separate, but sometimes, if he was on Wi-Fi and I was on Wi-Fi, the sync settings got crossed. A message bubble popped up in the corner of my screen while I was reviewing a PDF. Sender, unknown, 404 area code. Message, did the transfer go through? We need the liquidity by Friday or the whole thing collapses. My heart hammered against my ribs. Transfer? A second message appeared. Sender, unknown Toriage. Don't let her get suspicious. You said she's oblivious as long as you keep her happy. The world tilted. She. He was talking about me. She's oblivious. I felt bile rise in my throat. Who was the 404 area code? Atlanta? Did he have a woman in Atlanta? Was he sending money to her? I immediately logged into my bank accounts. I scanned the transaction histories frantically. Nothing large was missing yet, but liquidity by Friday? That was 3 days away. Oh my God, I whispered, clutching the iPad. He's cheating on me. He's trying to get my assets to fund a new life with some woman in Atlanta. It felt like a physical blow. The ultimatum wasn't about spiritual alignment. It was about funding his escape. He wanted the condo in his name so he could sell his half or leverage it. I spent the next 4 hours in a fugue state of grief. I cried in the handicap stall of the majestic law firm bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror, red eyes, pale skin, and hated my reflection. I felt stupid. I felt used. I decided I needed to catch him. I needed proof. If he was cheating, I could end it clean. No guilt about not trusting his vision, just cold, hard infidelity. I left work early, my stomach in knots. I was going to go home, pretend everything was fine, and wait for him to slip up. I was going to find out who she was. I pulled into the garage at 4:30 p.m. Spencer usually went to networking mixers on Tuesdays at Five Eyes, so I expected him to be getting ready. I took the elevator up to the penthouse. I didn't announce myself. I unlocked the door quietly, habit from late nights when I didn't want to wake him, and stepped into the foyer. I heard voices coming from the living room, Spencer and Mason. Bro, relax, Mason was saying. His voice was loud, booming, the voice of a guy who thinks he's the smartest person in the room because he listened to a podcast once. She's going to fold. She's desperate to get married. You see how she is about the flowers? She's deeply invested in the optics. I froze. I stood behind the partial wall that separated the foyer from the open concept living area. I could see them in the reflection of the hallway mirror. They were sitting on my white leather restoration hardware sofa, beers in hand, feet up on the coffee table. I don't know, man, Spencer said. He sounded annoyed. She looked pretty pissed yesterday. She went full lawyer mode. If she digs too deep, she might see the debt. She won't see the debt if you get the name transfer, Mason argued. Once your name is on the deed and the portfolio, you have collateral. We can leverage your half of the equity to get the loan for the mining rig. That's the genius of it. You don't need her cash directly, you just need her creditworthiness to back your play. Mining rig? I just need that $50K from her savings to prime the pump, Spencer said, taking a swig of beer. The crypto liquidity pool launches on Saturday. If I miss the buy-in window, I'm stuck doing consulting for pennies. I need that capital. So tell her it's for a joint investment account, Mason laughed. Tell her it's for our future children. Chicks eat that up. Say you want to build a nest egg that you manage to prove you can contribute. That's good, Spencer chuckled. God, she's so risk-averse. She has like 200 grand just sitting in low-yield bonds. It's criminal. I'm doing her a favor, really. I'm going to turn that into millions once the token skyrockets. And the Atlanta contact? Spencer asked. Confirmed, Mason said. He's ready to wash the transaction as a consulting fee, so it doesn't look like a crypto buy. She'll never know. I stood there, my hand gripping the strap of my bag so hard my knuckles turned white. There was no woman. There was no affair. The 404 area code wasn't a mistress. It was a crypto broker or some shady middleman. Spencer wasn't cheating on me with a person. He was cheating on me with a Ponzi scheme. She's such a control freak, Spencer complained, picking at the label of his beer bottle. It's exhausting acting like I'm impressed by her little corporate job. Oh wow, honey, you reviewed a contract. Good for you. Meanwhile, I'm trying to change the paradigm of global finance, and she treats me like a child. Just get the signature, bro, Mason said. Get the signature, get the equity, and then who cares? If she leaves you, you walk away with half the condo. It's a win-win. That's the startup dad strategy. Never leave empty-handed. Yeah, Spencer said, smiling that boyish smile at the ceiling. My dad was right. Never marry a woman unless you can monetize the merger. I didn't scream. I didn't storm in there and throw the beer bottles at their heads. I did something much scarier. I went completely cold. The lawyer brain that Spencer mocked, it just woke up. It took the wheel. I backed out of the foyer. 1 step, 2 steps, silent on the plush runner rug. I opened the front door, stepped into the hallway, and let it click shut softly. Then I jammed my key back in, turned it, and opened it again, loudly this time. Honey, I'm home! I called out, my voice bright, cheery, and completely fake. Inside, I heard the scramble. She's here. Hide the papers. I walked in. Spencer was standing up, looking flushed. Mason was pretending to look at his phone. Hey, babe, Spencer said, coming over to kiss me. I let him. I let his beer breath mouth touch mine. It took every ounce of willpower not to vomit. You're home early. Migraine, I lied, touching my temple. I just need to crash. Hey, Mason. Hey, Lauren, Mason grunted. Just leaving. I'm going to go lie down, I said. Don't worry about dinner. I'm not hungry. I walked past them, into the bedroom, my bedroom, and closed the door. I locked it. I went into the bathroom, turned on the shower to create white noise, and sat on the closed toilet lid. I pulled out my phone and dialed Riley. She answered on the first ring. What did he do? You were right, I said. My voice was steady, terrifyingly steady. He's not a vampire. He's a heist artist. He's trying to leverage my condo to buy a crypto mining rig, and he's planning to drain $50,000 from my savings by Friday. Silence on the line. Then Riley's voice, sharp as a diamond cutter. Where are you? In the bathroom. He's in the living room. Get out, Riley said. No, wait, don't get out. Act normal. If you confront him now, he'll gaslight you or he'll try to access the accounts before you can lock him out. Does he have your passwords? I don't think so, but he knows the answers to my security questions. My mother's maiden name, my first pet. Okay, Riley said. Listen to me closely, Lauren. This isn't a breakup anymore. This is a hostile corporate takeover. We need to initiate a poison pill defense. Can you leave without raising suspicion? I said I had a migraine. Good, stay in the room. Do not engage. I'm coming over. I'll park down the street. Pack a go bag. Your laptop, your passport, your hard drives. Tonight we sanitize your digital life. Tomorrow we kill the engagement. He said he's monetizing the merger, I whispered, the tears finally starting to prick at the corners of my eyes. He said I'm oblivious. He made a miscalculation, Riley said. He forgot you depose CEOs for breakfast. Wipe your face, Lo. We're going to war. I didn't sleep. I lay in bed next to Spencer, listening to his soft snores, feeling the heat of his body radiating toward me. It felt like sleeping next to a radioactive isotope. At 6 a.m. I got up, dressed in my sharpest suit, the Navy Hugo Boss, and drove to the office. I didn't go to my desk. I went to the 40th floor, corner office. Jeremy Hart was the head of family law at our firm. He was 65, wore three-piece suits, and had a reputation for making grown men cry in settlement hearings. He'd been my mentor since I started. Lauren? He looked up from his espresso, surprised to see me. You look like you're about to indict someone. I need to retain you, I said, closing the door. Personally. I sat down and laid it out. The ultimatum, the timeline, the overheard conversation about the crypto liquidity pool, the startup dad strategy. Jeremy listened without blinking. He tented his fingers. You're lucky, he said finally. Lucky? I almost laughed. My fiancé is trying to defraud me. You're lucky he's arrogant, Jeremy corrected. If he had been smarter, he would have married you first, then drained the accounts. Once you're married, the commingling of assets makes it messy. Right now, you're legally strangers. He has no rights to your property. None. He thinks he does, I said. He thinks because he's lived there for 10 months, he has sweat equity. He has delusions, Jeremy scoffed. Did he pay rent? No, he paid for some utilities. Groceries. Did he sign a lease? No. Then he's a guest who has overstayed his welcome. But here's the danger, Lauren. If you break up with him today, he still has keys. He still has access to your devices. If he transfers that money before you change the locks, getting it back is a civil matter. It could take years. The police won't touch it. They'll call it a domestic dispute. Jeremy leaned forward, his eyes hard. We need a scorched earth strategy. You need to secure the perimeter before you fire the shot. Step 1, total financial lockout. Step 2, physical lockout. Step 3, the asset protection declaration. What's that? We document everything, every text, every email. We create a paper trail that shows premeditated fraud. If he tries to sue you for emotional distress or claims he contributed to the mortgage, we bury him in evidence. He has a suit, I said suddenly, remembering the conversation. He has a fitting for his wedding suit on Monday. I paid for it. It's in my name. Jeremy raised an eyebrow. Is it expensive? $6,000, custom Italian wool. And you paid? Yes. Then it's your suit. Jeremy shrugged. Do with it what you will. But Lauren, do not tell him it's over until the locks are changed. You need to blindside him. It's the only way to ensure he doesn't destroy your property on the way out. I nodded. I can do that. Good, Jeremy said. Now go change your passwords and use a random generator. No more Rover 123. I booked a conference room on the 32nd floor, one with no windows so no one could see me shaking. I opened my laptop. It was 8:30 a.m. Spencer wouldn't be awake until 10 or 12. I had 90 minutes. I started with the banks. Chase. Password changed to X7 REL MK9 VI P2. Security questions changed. Mother's maiden name? I typed blue teapot. First pet? I typed tax fraud. Vanguard. Same protocol. Amex. I looked at the authorized users. There he was. Spencer Barrett. I clicked remove user. Then I called the fraud line. I believe my card number may be compromised, I told the operator. I need you to freeze the account and issue a new card number immediately. Certainly, Ms. Michaels. We can expedite that. Next, the digital life. Netflix, Hulu, HBO changed passwords. He was logged in on the TV, but this would force a re-login eventually. Uber Eats. I checked the history. He had ordered $80 worth of sushi on my card yesterday while I was at work. I removed my card. Amazon. I archived his orders so I wouldn't have to look at them, then removed him from the household account. Finally, the big one, the smart home app. My condo was smart. The locks, the thermostat, the cameras, all controlled by an app. Spencer had guest access. I hovered over the revoke access button. If I did this now, he would know. He'd get a notification, or he'd try to open the door and fail. I checked the time. 9:15 a.m. He was probably still asleep. I decided to wait on the smart home revoke until the locksmith was physically there. But I prepared the command. I felt like a hacker in my own life. It was clinical. It was cold. But every click of the mouse felt like I was sewing up a wound. Then I opened a new spreadsheet. Column A, item. Column B, purchaser. Column C, proof. Sony 65. TV, Lauren, receipt. Best Buy 2019. Espresso machine, Lauren, receipt. Williams Sonoma 2020. Range Rover, Lauren, title, paid off. Spencer's dignity, non-existent. I saved the file as projecteviction.xlsx. I left work at 11 a.m. I told my assistant I had a family emergency. I met the locksmith, a burly guy named Mike, in the lobby of my building. You the one who needs the total recode? Mike asked, hefting his tool belt. Yes, and I need it done quietly. He might be inside. If he's inside, legally I can't lock him out if he lives there, Mike said, looking uneasy. He doesn't live there, I lied, keeping my face smooth. He's a house guest who refused to leave. His name isn't on the lease or the deed. Here's the deed. I flashed the paper. Good enough for me, Mike shrugged. We went up. I used my key to open the door. The condo was silent. Hello? I called out. Silence. I checked the bedroom. Empty. The bed was unmade. A wet towel was on the floor, my hardwood floor. I checked the Find My app on my phone. We shared locations for safety. Spencer's dot was at a Starbucks 3 blocks away. He's out, I told Mike. Do it. Entrance, service door, and change the garage code. While Mike drilled, the door across the hall opened. Mrs. Gable peered out. She was 78, wore velour tracksuits, and had eyes like a hawk. She hated Spencer because he once referred to her as the crypt keeper loudly in the hallway. Is he finally gone? Mrs. Gable asked, stepping out in pink slippers. I'm changing the locks, Mrs. Gable, I said. He's gone. Good riddance, she spat. The man is a nuisance. Do you know he tried to get into your service elevator last week? I saw him punching in numbers on the keypad. Tried 1, 2, 3, 4, then your birthday. I was watching through my peephole. My stomach dropped. He was trying to guess the code? Looked like it. He was on the phone with someone. Said, I think I can get in through the back if she changes the front. He's a snake, honey. A snake. Thank you for telling me, I said, my voice trembling. You need evidence? Mrs. Gable asked. She pointed to a small camera mounted on her doorframe. I got a Ring camera last month. My grandson set it up. It records the hallway. I got him trying the codes. I can send it to your phone. The unexpected ally. I could have hugged her. Please, I said, send me everything you have. Mike finished the lock. New keys, ma'am, and I reset the digital keypad. Code is whatever you want. Make it 7429, I said. The last 4 digits of the case number of my first big win in court. Done. I stood in the hallway holding the new shiny key. The fortress was secure. Now I had to drop the bomb. It was 1 p.m. Spencer would be at his meeting, Starbucks, for another hour. I had one more call to make. I dialed David, the owner of Sartorial, the high-end boutique in the Loop where Spencer's wedding suit was being made. David, Lauren Michaels here, I said, putting on my best client voice. Lauren, how are you? The suit is coming along beautifully. The charcoal Xenia wool is stunning. We have the final fitting scheduled for Monday. Actually, David, that's why I'm calling. There's been a change of plans. Oh, rescheduling? Canceling, I said. The wedding is off. Oh, Lauren, I'm so sorry. David's voice dropped to a professional hush. It's for the best, but we have a situation with the suit. It's fully paid for, correct? By me. Yes, you paid the full $5,800 last month. Okay, here's what I want you to do. I don't want a refund. I want you to donate it. Donate it? Yes. Do you work with any charities? Maybe Suits for Success or a veterans program? We do work with veterans to careers, David said slowly. We help transition military personnel into corporate jobs. But this is a bespoke suit, Lauren. It's tailored to Spencer's measurements. Spencer is a 40 regular. It's a common size. Find a veteran who is a 40 regular. Adjust it if you have to. I'll pay for the alterations. Lauren, are you sure? Spencer is going to be upset. Spencer isn't the customer, David. I am. The receipt has my name on it. The card has my name on it. The suit is my property. And I am instructing you to give it to someone who actually understands the meaning of duty and honor, because the man it was intended for understands neither. There was a long pause. I could hear David processing the drama, the potential conflict, and then the justice of it. I have a candidate, David said softly. Jackson Price, Marines. Just came home. He has an interview next week for a security director position at a tech firm, but he doesn't have anything to wear. He's exactly a 40 regular. Perfect, I said. Give it to Jackson. And David, when Spencer shows up on Monday, tell him the suit has been reallocated to a worthier cause. You're a terrifying woman, Lauren, David said, but I could hear the smile in his voice. I know, I said. I'm protecting my assets. I hung up. My phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Gable. Video file attached. I watched the thumbnail. It was Spencer, sneaking around the service door, looking over his shoulder. I took a deep breath. The locks were changed. The money was frozen. The suit was gone. Now I just had to wait for him to come home and realize his key didn't work. I sat on my couch, my restoration hardware couch, and waited. I didn't just pack him. I excavated him. It was 1:30 p.m. I had exactly 3 hours before he might wander back from his strategy session at Starbucks. I stood in the center of the living room, holding a roll of heavy-duty packing tape and a stack of U-Haul boxes I'd bought on my lunch break. I started with the vision corner. That's what he called the nook by the window where he kept his motivational literature and half-finished electronics projects. I picked up a book titled The Sovereign Individual. It had a sticky note on page 42 that just said, Leverage, Debt, Senior Wealth. I threw it into the box with a thud. Next came the 4-hour work week, which he interpreted as the 0-hour work week. 3 empty cans of compressed air and a tangle of HDMI cables that didn't belong to any device we currently owned. I moved to the bathroom. This was harder, seeing his toothbrush next to mine. The intimacy of hygiene. But then I looked at the bottle of Aesop hand soap, $40 a bottle, that was currently empty because he used it as body wash. It smells like cedar, he'd said when I asked him to stop. I like cedar. I threw his drugstore razor, his half-empty bottle of 3-in-1 shampoo, and his beard oil into a garbage bag. I didn't bubble wrap anything. If the beard oil leaked onto his limited edition CryptoPunks t-shirt, That was a problem for future Spencer. I went to the closet. His clothes took up 20% of the space but created 80% of the visual noise. I pulled down the hoodie he wore when we met. I hesitated for a microsecond, a flash of memory, him laughing in the rain on Michigan Avenue. But then the memory was replaced by the image of him eating my spicy tuna roll and demanding my deed. Into the box. I packed his recording equipment, a podcast mic he used twice. I packed his drawer of supplements, nootropics that cost $80 a jar. I packed the frame photo of us from his nightstand. I took it out of the frame first. I kept the frame, Pottery Barn 25. I ripped the photo in half. By 3:15 p.m., Spencer Barrett was reduced to 6 cardboard boxes and 2 black garbage bags. I dragged everything into the hallway. I didn't put it in the garage. That would require giving him a code. I left it right there, in the common corridor, stacked neatly against the wall next to the service elevator. I went back inside. I wiped down the counters. I vacuumed the rug where his shoes had been. I lit a candle, Santal 26, to burn away the smell of his Axe body spray. Then I sat at the kitchen island and drafted the text. I wrote it, deleted it, wrote it again. It needed to be legal. It needed to be clear. It needed to be the closing argument of a relationship. Draft 1. You're a con artist and I hate you. Get your stuff. Too emotional? Draft 2. I know about the crypto scheme. We're done. Too specific gives him room to argue. Final version. Spencer, the engagement is off. I have changed the locks. Your belongings are in the hallway next to the service elevator. Do not attempt to enter the unit. The police have been notified that you are no longer a resident. Do not contact me. I wish you the best with your liquidity pool. I stared at the send button. My thumb hovered. This was it, the nuclear option. I pressed send. Then, immediately, before the delivered receipt could even appear, I went to settings, airplane mode on. Then I shut the phone down completely. I walked out the door, locked it with my new key, and took the elevator down to the lobby where Riley was waiting in her idling Jeep. Drive, I said, buckling my seatbelt. I threw my powered-down iPhone into the glove compartment like it was a live grenade. Riley didn't ask questions. She peeled out of the loading zone, merging aggressively into Chicago traffic. We going to the Wisconsin house? Yes, Lake Geneva. I need to be out of the state. The first hour was pure adrenaline. We were Thelma and Louise, fleeing the scene of the crime. Riley played early 2000s hip-hop at max volume, and we sang along screaming the lyrics to Get Low while navigating the I-94 construction. But by the time we hit the Wisconsin border, the adrenaline crashed. The silence crept in. He's probably home now, I said, staring out the window at the endless wall of cornfields. He's probably trying the key. Don't, Riley said, turning down the radio. He's probably banging on the door. Mrs. Gable is going to yell at him. He's going to be so embarrassed. He planned to steal $50,000 from you, Lauren. He's not embarrassed. He's panicked because his ATM just shut down. I know, but I picked at a loose thread on my jeans. What if I misunderstood? What if the liquidity pool was just talk? What if I just nuked my life for a misunderstanding? Riley slammed on the brakes, safely but abruptly, pulling the Jeep onto the gravel shoulder of the highway. Gravel crunched loudly under the tires. The car idled, the engine ticking. She turned in her seat to face me. Look at me. I looked at her. You are a partner at a top law firm. You negotiate multi-million-dollar IP deals. You are the most rational person I know. Did you misunderstand the words, transfer her assets? Did you misunderstand she's oblivious? No, I whispered. Did you misunderstand the fact that he has contributed $0 to your household in 10 months while buying custom suits? No. Then stop gaslighting yourself. He trained you to do that. He trained you to think that your boundaries were control issues. You didn't nuke your life. You chemo at a tumor. It hurts, but it's saving you. I took a shaky breath. It just feels Quiet. I'm used to managing him. I'm used to the noise of his needs. That's the withdrawal, Riley said, putting the car back in drive. We're going to the lake. We're going to drink cheap wine. And we are not turning that phone on until Sunday night. Deal? Deal. The rest of the drive was quiet, but it wasn't the heavy silence of fear anymore. It was the silence of a vacuum, the space where a problem used to be. Sunday night, 8 p.m. The cabin smelled like wood smoke and Pinot Grigio. We sat on the oversized leather couch, the fire dying down in the hearth. My phone sat on the coffee table, a black monolith. Ready? Riley asked, holding her own phone up to record the reaction. For legal documentation, she claimed. No, I said, but let's do it. I picked it up, held the power button. The Apple logo appeared. It took a full minute for the network to catch up. And then, the phone had a seizure. Buzz. 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 It vibrated across the table, a frantic mechanical dance. The notifications cascaded down the screen in a blur of iMessage blue and missed call red. 147 missed calls, 83 text messages, 12 voicemails. Jesus, Riley breathed. He was busy. Let's read the timeline, I said, my voice clinical. I opened the message thread. Friday, 3:42 p.m., the confusion phase. Spencer. Hey, funny joke. The key isn't working. Did you change the code? Spencer. Babe, seriously, I have to pee. Let me in. Spencer. Why are my boxes in the hallway? Mrs. Gable is staring at me. This isn't funny. Friday, 4:15 p.m., the panic phase. Spencer. I just read your text. Are you insane? You can't just evict me. I live here. Spencer. Call me right now. We need to talk about this like adults. Spencer. Where are you? I checked the gym. I checked the office. Spencer. Lauren, my wallet is inside. I have no cash. You're putting me in danger. Lie. I had seen his wallet in his back pocket when he left. Friday, 6:30 p.m., the bargaining phase. Spencer. Look, I get it. The asset thing freaked you out. I'm sorry. I pushed too hard. We don't have to do the transfer. Let's just do a prenup. I'll sign whatever. Just come home. Spencer. I love you. I don't care about the money. I just want my fiancé back. Spencer. Please, Lo, it's cold out here. Friday, 11:00 p.m., the rage phase. Spencer. You manipulative bee. Spencer. You planned this. You let me think everything was fine while you were plotting this behind my back. That is psychopathic behavior. Spencer. You'll regret this. You think you're so smart with your little lawyer brain? You have no idea who you're messing with. Spencer. Everyone is going to know what you did. I'm going to tell them the truth about your abuse. Saturday, 9 a.m., the dad phase. Spencer. My lawyer says what you did is an illegal eviction. Prepare to be sued. I scrolled to the voicemails. There was one from a number I recognized. Richard Barrett. Spencer's father. I put it on speaker. Beep. Lauren. Richard here. I am disappointed. I thought you were a woman of substance. Locking a man out of his home, donating his property. This is childish. Spencer is distraught. He was trying to build a future for you, and you treated it like a hostile transaction. You will fix this. You will unlock that door, and you will apologize. If you don't, I will make it my personal mission to ruin your professional reputation in this city. I know people on the Bar Association, Lauren. Don't test me. The room went silent. Riley let out a low whistle. Wow, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. The apple fell, and then the tree fell on top of it. He threatened my license, I said, feeling a cold calm settle over me. He actually threatened my license. That's extortion, Riley said. Save it. Forward it to Jeremy. I looked at the phone. The fear was gone, replaced by something sharper. They think I'm scared, I said. They think I'm huddled in a corner crying. Are you? No, I stood up. I'm going to the tailor tomorrow. Monday morning. I called in sick. I told my assistant I had food poisoning. At 1:30 p.m., I parked my Tesla, which Spencer hated because he couldn't drive it, across the street from Sartorial on Oak Street. It was a gray Chicago day, the kind where the sky looks like wet concrete. I had a venti coffee that was rapidly going cold and a pair of oversized sunglasses on. "This is petty," I said to myself, checking the rearview mirror. "This is beneath you." But I stayed. I needed to see it. I needed to see the moment the bubble burst. For 10 months, Spencer had lived in a reality where he was the main character and I was the financier. Today, reality was going to punch him in the face. I watched the foot traffic, tourists with shopping bags, businessmen in trench coats, and then, at 1:55 p.m., I saw him. He was walking fast. He looked disheveled. He was wearing the same jeans he had on Friday. His hair was messy. He was holding his phone to his ear, gesturing wildly. He stopped in front of the boutique's glass door. He smoothed his shirt. He ran a hand through his hair. He took a deep breath. He was composing himself. He was putting on the tech founder mask. He was about to walk in there and act like he hadn't spent the weekend sleeping on Mason's couch. He opened the door and vanished inside. My heart hammered against the steering wheel. 1 minute, 2 minutes. I imagined David delivering the news. "Mr. Barrett, there's been a reallocation." At 2:03 p.m., the door to Sartorial flew open. Spencer didn't walk out. He exploded out. He was red, not flushed, purple. He was screaming back into the store, holding the door open with his foot. "I don't care who paid for it. It's my measurements." I cracked my window just an inch. The sound drifted across Oak Street, cutting through the traffic noise. "This is theft! I'm calling the police!" David appeared in the doorway. He looked impeccable in his three-piece suit, his hands clasped calmly behind his back. He said something low and distinct. Spencer flailed his arms. He looked like a toddler denied a candy bar. He kicked the planter outside the door. A chunk of decorative concrete chipped off. "You can't give my suit to some rando!" Spencer shrieked. Passers-by were stopping. A woman with a poodle crossed the street to avoid him. "It is not your suit, sir," David said, loud enough for me to hear this time. "It was never your suit. You were merely the mannequin." Spencer spun around, grabbing his hair. He paced a tight circle on the sidewalk. He pulled out his phone, presumably to call me or his dad or the police. I watched him dial. My phone, sitting on the passenger seat, remained silent. I had blocked him an hour ago. He screamed at his phone. "Answer me!" It was pathetic. It wasn't the terrifying monster who wanted to drain my accounts. It was just a broke guy on a sidewalk who realized the ATM was out of order. And then the door opened again. A man walked out. He was tall, broader than Spencer. He had a military buzz cut that was growing out slightly, silver at the temples. He stood with a posture that made him look like he was supporting the sky, and he was wearing the suit. The charcoal Xenia wool caught the light. The fit was different. On Spencer, the suit would have looked trendy. On this man, Jackson Price, it looked like armor. The shoulders were filled out perfectly. The trousers broke exactly at the shoe. He stepped onto the sidewalk and took a deep breath, looking at his reflection in the shop window. He adjusted his cufflinks. He looked like a CEO. He looked like a statesman. Spencer stopped pacing. He stared. "That's mine," Spencer choked out, pointing a shaking finger. "Take that off." "That's my wedding suit." Jackson Price turned slowly. He looked at Spencer the way a lion looks at a yapping chihuahua. Not with aggression, but with mild confusion. "Excuse me?" Jackson said. His voice was a deep baritone. "That suit, it's mine. My fiancé paid for it. It's bespoke." Spencer lunged forward, actually reaching for the lapel. David stepped between them instantly. "Mr. Barrett, if you touch Mr. Price, I will have you arrested for assault. Ms. Michaels donated the suit. Mr. Price is the new owner. It has been altered. It wouldn't fit you anymore anyway. Your shoulders are..." significantly narrower. The insult landed like a physical slap. Jackson looked from David to Spencer. He seemed to piece it together. "You're the ex," Jackson said. "I'm the fiancé," Spencer yelled. "Not anymore, son," Jackson said. He smoothed the front of the jacket. "And for the record, she has excellent taste. Shame you didn't match it." Jackson turned to David, shook his hand, and walked away down Oak Street. He walked with purpose. He walked like a man who had somewhere important to be. Spencer was left standing there, mouth open, watching his $6,000 skin walk away on a better man. I rolled up my window. I put the car in drive. I didn't honk. I didn't wave. I just drove away, feeling lighter than I had in years. By Tuesday, the narrative had shifted. I was at my desk trying to focus on a licensing agreement when the notifications started pinging on LinkedIn. Not texts, LinkedIn messages. Notification: Spencer Barrett posted a new article. The Hidden Cost of Loving a Narcissist, My Story of Financial Abuse. My stomach dropped. I clicked the link. It was a masterpiece of fiction. He didn't mention the crypto scheme. He didn't mention the ultimatum. Instead, he wrote, "I fell in love with a powerful woman. I thought we were partners. But slowly, she began to use her wealth to control me. She tracked my location. She limited my spending. She isolated me from my friends. And when I finally asked for a seat at the table, for a simple joint account to feel like an equal, she evicted me overnight and destroyed my belongings. She even gave away my wedding clothes to humiliate me. This is what financial abuse looks like." The comments were horrifying. "So brave, brother. Women can be abusers too. Stay strong. This is disgusting behavior. Name and shame her." Then came the texts from mutual friends. Kayla, college friend. "Lauren, I just saw Spencer's post. Did you really donate his suit? That's really cruel." Mark, gym buddy. "Hey, Spencer is crashing with me. He's devastated. Not cool, Lo." Then the email from HR. Subject: Anonymous Complaint. Ms. Michaels, we received an anonymous complaint regarding unethical personal conduct that may reflect poorly on the firm. Please schedule a time to speak with the ethics committee. He was doing it. He was scorching the earth. I sat there shaking. The truth didn't matter. The story mattered. And he was telling a better story because he was the victim. "He's winning," I whispered. "I have the receipts, but he has the microphone." I needed to flip the script. But how do you prove a negative? How do you prove you didn't abuse someone when they're crying on the internet? I went home early, feeling like a pariah. I wore sunglasses in the elevator so the doorman wouldn't see my red eyes. When I got to my floor, Mrs. Gable was waiting. She had her door propped open with a heavy brass doorstop. "Come in," she ordered, waving a hand. "Mrs. Gable, I'm not really in the mood for—" "Get in here. I saw the Facebook post. My grandson showed me. That boy is a liar." I stepped into her apartment. It smelled like lavender and old paper. "He's saying I abused him," I said, leaning against her entryway table. "He's saying I'm a monster." "Monsters don't pay condo fees on time," Mrs. Gable snorted. "Look at this." She held up her iPad. It was the Ring footage from Friday night. I watched. Video timestamp. Friday, 5:12 p.m. Spencer is in the hallway. He is banging on my door. "Open the door, you Ah!" he screams. He kicks the door, hard, once, twice. Then he pulls out his phone. "Dad, yeah, she locked me out. No, I didn't get the transfer. Yeah, I know. I'm going to ruin her. I'm going to post that story we talked about, the abuse angle. Yeah, I'll make her look like a psycho. She'll be begging to settle by Monday." He laughs, a cold, ugly laugh. "She cares so much about her precious reputation. Watch me burn it down." I stared at the screen. He confessed, on camera. He admitted the abuse story was a fabrication to force a settlement. "You have audio," I whispered. "High definition," Mrs. Gable beamed. "And I already emailed it to you. Now go get that shark lawyer of yours and eat him alive." I looked at this woman, this grumpy, tracksuit-wearing woman I had barely spoken to in 5 years, and I started to cry. "Thank you," I sobbed. "Oh, hush," she patted my arm awkwardly. "Just make sure he never comes back. He has bad energy." Wednesday morning, I was in Jeremy's office showing him the video. "This is gold," Jeremy said, actually smiling. "This is absolute platinum. We can sue him for defamation, slander, and attempted extortion." "I don't want to sue him," I said. "I just want him to stop." My phone buzzed, a text from Mason. "Mason, hey Lauren, can we talk? Coffee, it's urgent." "Mason wants to meet," I told Jeremy. "Go," Jeremy said. "He knows the ship is sinking. He wants a lifeboat." I met Mason at a neutral Starbucks. He looked terrible, pale, sweaty. He wasn't drinking a beer today. He was drinking herbal tea. "I saw the video," Mason said immediately. "Spencer showed me. He thinks it's funny." "He won't think it's funny when I file it in court," I said, "along with the text messages from your group chat about the crypto scheme." Mason flinched. "Whoa, leave me out of this. I was just listening." "You weren't listening, Mason. You were advising. Get the signature, bro." "Leverage the debt." "That's conspiracy to commit fraud." Mason went white. "I didn't sign anything. I'm not liable." "My lawyer disagrees. We're preparing to name you as a co-defendant in the civil suit. Unless what? Unless you give me the rest. The texts I don't have, the screenshots of the plan, prove to me that this was his idea, not yours." Mason fumbled for his phone. His loyalty to his bro evaporated the second his own neck was on the line. "Here," he said, scrolling frantically. "Look, 2 months ago." He texted me. "Dad says if I can get on the deed, I can take out a HELOC without her knowing. We can use that for the mining rig." "Send it to me," I said. "If I send it, will you leave me out of the lawsuit?" "If you send it, I'll forget you exist." He sent it. I looked at the screenshot. Spencer. "She's just a bank account with legs, man. Once I have the equity, I don't need to pretend to listen to her boring work stories anymore." It hurt. It hurt like a knife, but it was also the final cauterization. "Thanks, Mason," I said. "Enjoy your tea." 3 months later, it's October 14th. Today would have been my wedding day. Instead of walking down an aisle in a $5,000 dress, I'm sitting on my balcony, drinking a glass of wine and watching the sunset over the Chicago skyline. The aftermath was swift and brutal. Jeremy sent a cease and desist letter to Spencer and his father, attaching the ring footage and the screenshots from Mason. The letter was simple. "Remove the posts, retract the statements, or we release this footage to the public and file criminal fraud charges." The posts vanished within 10 minutes. Spencer moved back to Arizona to live with his parents. I heard through the grapevine he's working at his dad's car dealership. My reputation recovered. The people who mattered, my partners, my real friends, saw the truth. The ones who believed the victim narrative, I don't need them. Yesterday, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just a postmark from San Francisco. Inside was a photograph. It was Jackson Price. He was standing in front of a glass-walled office building, wearing a security badge and the suit. He looked proud. He looked capable. On the back, he wrote, "Ms. Michaels, I got the job. Director of Global Security. They said I looked commanding in the interview. I wore the suit to my daughter's graduation last week, too. Thank you for restoring my armor. Jackson." I pinned the photo to the corkboard in my office, right where Spencer's vision board used to be. I looked at my bank account this morning. The savings are all there. The portfolio is up 4%. The mortgage is 0. I used to think equity was about money, about splitting things 50-50, but I realized that true equity is about self-worth. It's about knowing that you are the primary shareholder in your own life. I took a sip of wine. The condo was quiet. It wasn't the silence of loneliness. It was the silence of peace, and it was rich. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from. or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here,